Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect, the podcast that's about to rock your marketing world. I'm Julie Chanel, and with my co-founder, Cathy Olson, we're the masterminds behind Funnel Gorgeous and FG Funnels. We're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. We'll chat mouth-watering offers, copy, design, and give you an inside look of some of our best and worst funnels. No smoke and mirrors, just real strategies that work from two ladies who have been around the funnel block. So grab your coffee or something stronger, we won't judge, and get ready to unleash the gorgeous effect on your business. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this. Hey everyone, it's Julie and Cathy back with another episode of The Gorgeous Effect. Today we're talking about networking, specifically getting business and getting yourself out there at events, which I suck at. So we could start there. It's so funny because when we travel, like we know that travel and attending conferences and events are important for our brand, but I have bestowed that job on Cathy because it is really hard to get me to travel.
It is. And, there are a lot of people are like, only have met me. And they're like, does Julie exist? Like, I swear
Is
she
she
exists.
AI?
I swear my friend is real. No, but I mean, literally, I get it. It's a pain in the butt, right? Like, I mean, of course it is. Of course, travel is not fun. I mean, most people don't like it. Going, especially if you're introverted, talking to people you don't know, it's like not the funnest thing in the world. But man, is it powerful, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I there's so many people that I've met at events, and even you, like the events that you do go to, you've made connections with people that have turned into things, for our business, and vice versa, right? Like, I think I've helped a lot of businesses, people that I've met in person as well, you do, and of course we run our own events, so like we have a different perspective of what it's like to run an event
Yeah.
and thinking through. Like I even, we're going to an event this week. You and I both are going to an event this week. You're speaking at it. I'm not speaking at it. Yay. But so I get to like enjoy it. I feel like, but at the same time, there's so much that goes in that's involved in it. I actually reached out to some people and I said, hey, if you need to ship anything to my house, because like logistics is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
swag and everything. But it begs the question that when you go to these events, how do you balance this of like, what do I take for me? What do I give to others? And like, how much do I meet people? Because
Yeah.
there's their information, there's, you working, right? I guess, but then there's also the connection. So how do you balance all and like, and also do you rest? Like, do you take this time to think about your business? Yeah. So there's a lot of questions of what's the plan? Do you make a plan or do you fly by the seat of your pants? And I guess,
Yeah.
there's different styles too.
Well, so first off, I think I want to say that for someone like myself who's a pretty strong introvert and it takes a lot for me to travel, I do recognize the value of the in-person experience, which is only going to get more valuable over time because that's really the only way we're going to know for
Yeah.
certain that we're dealing with real
I
people instead
know.
of robots. But I was listening to a podcast. It was completely not about marketing or events, but it was about cognitive like psychology. And the case that this guy was making was basically that the flow state that we all love, like when we get in flow and we have ideas and we're inspired, it is possible to get in that flow state when you're alone, but it's actually biologically, evolutionarily, or whether you believe in evolution or whether you believe we were created by God. The point is that we actually get in a flow state better when we're around other people. That our ability to see possibility, have what he calls an insight cascade, which is like my new favorite phrase,
I love
uh,
that.
is more powerful in person than not. So there's a strong like biological, psychological reason to go to events, including the variety, the change in environment. It sparks neural pathways that are not going to happen at home. So assuming that you agree that traveling is important for your business, the question, like you asked, is how do you make the most of it, right? You're spending a lot of money, you're leaving family. And I think the very first thing that I recommend is that you start networking with the people that are coming to the event before the event. And I actually, one of my clients, Lindsay Williams, she teaches this. She calls it like a pre-show runway. That's what she does. She teaches wedding professionals. How can you either join a group or join an app or like look up the people who are going to be there and start making those connections before the event? Some places it's too big. There's too many people, but in other places it's really possible. I did this for an event I was speaking at and it made a huge difference. And now the event I'm speaking at, I must say I have not downloaded the app yet. So I did not take my own advice and I need to because I see messages coming in saying that people want to connect with me.
I do think you thrive in smaller meetups and smaller events. Like I guess 50 or people or less. Because I was
Yeah.
thinking, you made me think of FG Retreat we did literally a year ago to the day. I think
Yes.
I've
Yes.
been seeing memories from a year ago, and we did that. We had all of the attendees, which there was only what like
Well,
yeah, 12. Okay. I was gonna say 10 and then I forgot we added we
no, it
added
was
a
12.
second room because we had to have more. Anyways, so yeah, so then we had everybody meet each other ahead of time. And by the time we actually had the event, it was like friends meeting up, right? We had known each other
Yeah.
so well. So we did a really good, I think we actually started way early, like months early. We had a Voxer channel, and so we got to know each other much better. And so I really liked that way of doing it because that's the whatever third time we've done FG Retreat, and
Yeah.
I knew them much better than I did,
Yeah.
and almost all of them kind of went on to be digital insiders, which was amazing. So it was kind of setting that whole thing up. So um, I really, really like that. But the small format, I think that's even more important to meet up,
Yeah.
talk to each other, because you are going to get deeper with all these people versus, this big event that we're going to. I think it's even more important.
Yeah. So, I mean, so the big takeaway is start networking before the event.
Mhm.
And also think about the fact that when you build relationships with people, some people may be future clients and customers, yes, but some people may be like catalysts to future customers and clients, right? They may not actually be your client, but they might invite you to their podcast or they might introduce you to someone. They may have a big network. And so every single person that you develop any sort of meaningful relationship with becomes another touch point to another room. And
Yeah.
that's a really valuable thing. Like I went to Steve Sims Speakeasy last year. I think I went in Dallas and I met a woman and then she invited me to speak at her event. And so like that's the idea is that they may not be all customers and clients, but they may be people that could introduce you to a new room. So when you get to an event, really important to keep track of the people you're touching base with. In the olden days, it was business cards. Now you can DM someone on Instagram right then and there. You can use the networking apps that are provided with the conference. You can take a selfie and post it on stories and tag them so that it's like, so that you remember. There's all kinds of ways, but keep track of every single person you've had a conversation with because after the event is as important as during, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, you made me think too of one of the things that I've learned over the bajillion events I've been to is to just, kind of approach every single person as if they have something to teach you and give them a chance, right? Because some people I'm like, "Oh, I really want to meet that person." And then I meet that person and they're kind of not what I was thinking or they're not like the catalyst I thought they were going to be, which is not a bad thing. It just is what it is. Whereas, like, there's just little side conversations. You're just sitting at a table, eating your lunch, and then someone comes up and you meet them so randomly, and they end up being like an amazing person that, like, you. So, like, if you were to be really nervous and not wanting to kind of mingle and, only know who you know and all that stuff, right? Then it's going to be harder for you to be open to those like opportunities. So I assume everyone is worth talking to. I mean, I know that seems kind of silly to say out loud, but sometimes it feels like that, right? Like you're like, I only want to talk to people who are in my niche or whatever, right? But like you
Yeah.
will get big ahas from people if you just kind of open up your heart a little to talk to anyone. And sometimes it's really interesting. I will say there's been a couple times when I've sat down at a table of people I didn't know, and then one person starts picking my brain, and then it turns into me like teaching, and I hate that. So like,
Yeah.
so sometimes I mean, it's just up to you, but sometimes I will kind of pull back on things and really just ask questions and just literally let everyone else talk because if it turns into like the Kathy show where I'm teaching, that's really exhausting and I don't know that anyone came for that anyway. So, it's like it's nice to just kind of open up. I don't know, have you felt like that too when you go to events and people kind of pick your brain? Does it turn into like a little mini round table session
Yeah, but the thing
sometimes?
is, I actually don't. I'm way more comfortable in the
Hmm.
teaching training mode. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that all day long. Like
Yeah.
that's not hard for me. I enjoy that. I think for me, it's more exhausting when I'm working a room and like bouncing from person to person or getting to know people. But if I'm like sitting at a dinner table or a lunch table or whatever, and there's like six people around and we get talking on a topic and then they want to ask me questions, like that's my zone.
Yeah.
I'll sit there all night, right? I don't want to
Yeah.
be in so maybe that's just like a
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's
personality
worth
thing.
listening to your energy, right, about that. Like, are you the kind of person that lights up, or do you feel drained after,
Yeah.
and know that about yourself so that you can put yourself in those situations? So it sounds like in your case, like you would love to be like in a situation where you're having lunch or dinner or whatever, and like, start a topic to where you can start to help people through like little mini coaching sessions
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
if you're not that type of person, then maybe you hold back a little bit and you ask more questions than you talk, right? Or like my approach or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so
exactly.
it's good to think about what your energy is. I know there are some times when there's some events where I'm just tired. And like I'm just not gonna go 100%. And I really kind of
Yeah.
never know when that's gonna happen. And then there's other events where I'm at everything. And so sometimes I really have to be okay with just listening to that side of myself. Like this event might not be the one that I go to every networking event just because life's happening or whatever. And I let that be okay because I used to go to events and I used to tell myself I have to work, 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 FOMO, go to every session, so I've definitely over the years like let myself pull back a little bit if I need or if I need to work more or if I get a good idea to actually miss a session or something so that I can work it out. Like I've really allowed myself to kind of fully be whoever I'm going to be at that moment. I mean, I definitely have goals. I set goals in the beginning, but I am not so FOMO like I used to be. I used to be totally burnt out, exhausted because I would try to go to everything and like I would go to bed late because I didn't want to miss anything, and then I would get up early because I didn't want to miss anything, and I would just be like I would almost get sick after. Like then I'd
Yeah.
go home and I'd be like sick because I would be so crazy. So now I try to take a better approach of like, balancing all that.
So after the event, when you have got the people on your list, this would be a great time to have a CRM like FG Funnels where you can put contacts in, you can tag them, you can keep track of them, sort of a pipeline. And this is when you want to begin your follow-up. And it all depends on what kind of connection you made. Was it a potential client or customer? Was it a potential, guest for your podcast? Were you going to be great for them to teach in their group? So, in that regard, you want to follow up. I find that after an event, people usually need 3, 4, maybe 5 days after the event, just because they're re-entering whatever their world is too. And then follow up with an easy connection point, whether it's a call, an interview, what have you. And the biggest thing I can say about sales is that it's a long game. And I know we all want to meet someone and then have them become a customer right away. But I have people that are signing up for working with me after knowing me for 6 years, right? And so you might think, oh my gosh, like I'm never going to make money doing that. But the good news is that the math works. If you put all of your stuff out there and you just give value, you develop relationships, people trickle in. And so, don't be discouraged if after an event you don't immediately have 5 new clients, right? Because you might have 5 new relationships that will pay big dividends over time. And you just need to be patient. But kind of coming back to what I said at the beginning of this episode, this idea of getting inspired, I really do think that a lot of critical either business ideas, business relationships, or insights happen when we're in a community of thinkers. And so it's really not a good idea not to go to events. Like you can't really replace that experience. And truth be told, I think I'd be going to more events if I didn't host 3 of my own a year,
Right.
but I host 3. So once a quarter, I'm already, hosting an event. So and we're going to Podfest, and we oftentimes go to the high level summit, and maybe there'll be a few other ones here and there that pop up. You go to a couple masterminds. So we definitely get around, even though we probably don't travel as much as we used to.
Yeah, not as much as I used to, um but I'm very I'm way more intentional. Like I
Yeah.
like last year I went to South by Southwest and I don't know why I went to there. I just really wanted to go there and I went there and I did have to I made it happen, but it was like I was getting emails, "Do you want to get again?" I'm like, "No, I would never go there again." So I'm really intentional with my time now because I don't want to just be traveling just to travel. I think back before, if you're still like, a newbie traveler, maybe you want to travel a lot. I really did want to travel. I just hadn't seen any states. And so I was like, if I could make this a business expense, this is amazing. So I would go to everything, you're right? In the first few years of my business, I was going to everything. So if that's the
Yeah.
stage you're in, that's awesome too. But yeah, I think there's so much to learn from that. You can really expand your thinking, period, right? So if you hear people talk that say things that they that can just open up your possibilities. Once you see one person, especially with women too, right? When we see other women doing things that we thought like, a woman couldn't or wasn't open to a woman, wasn't available to a woman, wasn't, innate to a woman, whatever, like that can open up our minds. So in any
Yeah.
case, like whatever, one person having success in a way or thinking of a different way, you're like, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. That alone will open it up. But then having people to bounce it off of, to talk to even say it out loud. A lot of,
Yeah.
people are verbal talkers. So when you're explaining what you do to someone else and they look kind of confused, you're like, oh, I didn't know that was confusing, right? But you're seeing their
Yeah.
face versus when you're in Facebook groups, you don't see anyone's face. You don't know how they're reacting. So
Reacting.
it's really cool to kind of be able to have those soundboards to
Yeah.
kind of bouncing off ideas.
So, advice, go to events, go to in person events. They are important. Figure it out, prioritize it if you can. Number 2, do a pre show networking, get on the radar of a few people so that you have a touch point so that it's easy to remember. When you're at the event, manage your energy, be strategic. Don't try to kill yourself, right? Think about relationships that are either customers, clients, or possibly connectors, and make sure to keep track of all those relationships and then follow up 4 to 5 days after the event. I think that, they're not rocket science, but if you actually do it, sometimes the most underwhelming advice, if you just actually do, makes a huge difference. So try it at your next event. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Talk soon.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We're just getting started with this podcast, and we're so excited to have you on this journey with us. If you found value in today's episode, we'd be over the moon if you'd consider subscribing. It's like a virtual high five that keeps us going. And hey, if you're feeling extra gorgeous, leaving a review would mean the world to us. Your words not only make our day, but it also helps other amazing folks just like you find our show through your review. Lastly, if you know someone who could use a little sales pep talk, why not spread the love? Share this episode and let's grow this gorgeous community together.